Hello, podcast world, fellow horticulturists, lovers of plants, gardeners, family, and friends. Welcome to Shrubby Buddies, the podcast, friends with woodies for garden goodies. I'm host Matt Guthrie.
And I'm host Tim Fleischer. Coming at you from Central Ohio, Zone 6B. We're just a couple of public horticulturists and certified arborists with experience in education, landscape design, gardening, retail, and wholesale.
So grab a drink, polish your pruners, dust off that kneeling pad, and let's get down to business. Hey, Shrubby Buddies, and welcome back to this week's episode. I am host Matt Guthrie, joined with two things, Timmy. Tim, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
I'm hanging in there, man. So, Brownies won today. It was an ugly win for Cleveland Browns, but they won nonetheless. Buckeyes did not lose this weekend. They didn't play, but it's still they didn't lose, right?
Yeah, that's an early bye week. It's gonna be hard to get used to. But
yeah, that was really weird. So
whatever.
Yeah. So what's going on? Anything good?
Yeah, like you said, the Browns win wasn't pretty, but it was a win nonetheless. I'll take it every single time. It's
Absolutely.
a W.
Yeah. So, not a whole lot going on this week for us. Bob Burby was the winner of last week's question at the end of the episode. If you were listening, we asked a question about what tree species is host to the most, insects, moths, something. What was it, Tim?
What tree genus plays host to the most lepidopterans, moths, and butterflies?
Okay, yeah, and Bob Burby from Burby Bulb Company, Dutch Mill Greenhouse, answered that early on in the week. So I've got your eraser, pencil,
what was the answer?
And oaks. Oaks was the answer.
Okay.
So your oak trees are the true badasses of the butterfly and moth world.
Yeah, they host, I think it was like 536 different species of butterfly and moths, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Super cool. That's why oaks are so important. So, Bob, I've got your eraser, mechanical pencil, golf ball, and sticker for you. I'll get those to you this week or something, man. I forgot them today, so sorry about that. Anyway, so moving along with this week's episode. Actually, let me back up. So last week's episode it was another tree talk, which we love. We hope that you all enjoyed it. For those of you that listened, thank you for listening. We greatly appreciate that. But we had a lot of fun doing that episode, and
yeah, we like talking trees. So yeah. We'll pepper in more tree talks, moving forward. Certainly, we always get good reviews on those tree episodes.
Yeah, trees are pretty special. So
yeah, they're tremendous.
Tremendous. And I got a lot of positive feedback on your little puns that you had throughout last week's episode. So
my jokes and riddles.
Oh yeah, people love them. Like you tap that acer.
Yeah,
I heard people liked that one a lot.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully you have some more of those up your sleeve as we move forward with this. Maybe I don't know about today. We'll see. We'll see. So all right. So on to today's episode. We're going to we're coming into spooky season here. Fall displays, Halloween displays. Everyone's kind of gearing up for that cooler, hopefully, fingers crossed, wetter weather. Because, like a broken record here, we still haven't had rain in Ohio, and it's blazing hot out, so that sucks. But, we're going to talk about thinking outside the box for fall flower displays in this week's episode. So hopefully not everyone's gone out and purchased all of their fall display stuff. And you can listen to this episode and get some ideas for maybe how to change things up from what you've traditionally done. Right, Tim?
Right. Garden centers have been displaying, selling, and pushing this fall stuff for a while now. Would you say probably close to a month?
Close to it, yeah.
Yeah. And for no offense to them, but for me, that's just a tad early. I like to wait. I know that my, porch pots still look pretty good, and I like to wait till I can see consistently cooler temps for the next, 7 to 10 days. So hopefully, like Matt said, we're catching some of you before you've you've put together your fall displays. We can give you some little tidbits on how to, think outside the box, and maybe instead of, we're going to talk about mums, we like mums, but instead of maybe get you away from just using a mum and some things that you can really spice up the color scheme and the textural components of your fall displays.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had mentioned, hopefully we catch you before you've done this, but maybe you have already done it and your stuff's not going to look all that great come October 1st if you've done it like the first part of September, or even end of August, and you'll want to change it up again.
Yeah, you can always edit things.
And, so maybe you can use some of this information to set you up for an even better second fall flower display. So we're going to dive right in on this now. So like Tim had mentioned, mums, some of the traditional type fall plants that I think of would be like your mums, some of your basic kales and cabbages, maybe some pansies, and then like the purple fountain grass are just, in my mind, like the traditional like fall planter. This is what you're putting in it. So we're going to try and help maybe not eliminate those things, but help maybe change some of those things out and create just a better, more well-rounded fall display.
Yeah, you can have a planter and put a mum, a cabbage, some pansies, and a purple fountain grass in it, and it will look lovely. But if you're thinking, this is gardening, we want to be a little more creative, how do we kind of get out of this rut of these same 4 or 5 things? That's what we're here to show you today. So we're definitely going to bring mums and kales into it, but you could definitely add things to these traditional plants to really zhuzh things up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything that we mentioned is pretty much just annual. Mums could be borderline hardy, I suppose. I know some people have luck here in Ohio planting mums and them coming back every year, but when we talk mums, chrysanthemums, we're really thinking of them as more of an annual. You're putting them out in the fall, and then when they kind of peter out by the end of fall, you remove them, you pitch them, and you start over. They're priced like an annual.
Yeah.
They're really not super expensive. So.
And Matt said they might come back. They probably will come back, but they're never going to look as good as the beautiful floriferous pot you bought, unless you are really diligent to snip them back earlier in the season. And it seems like more work than it's worth. With
and they can get big too. I think my mom had one years ago when I was a kid that came back every year.
Oh, they get
like
so big,
3 or 4 feet tall,
and they get all this irregular growth all around, and they're just, no offense, but we can do better.
Yeah,
we can do better.
And we're going to help you do better in this episode. So staying in line with some of the annual type things, we're going to give you a list of a few different annuals that we personally use in some of our fall displays. So I'm going to start this off with celosia being one of them. And, there's a lot of different types of celosia out there. There's the spiky celosia. There's the one that looks like a brain or like a coral reef, the coral type celosia. The one that I like is called Celosia Intense, and it's got that super bright, just like purple, like fuchsia type colored flower on it that's super bright. But yeah, so these celosias are going to come in a lot of different colors. Your reds, your oranges, your yellows, like all of your good fall colors.
Yeah, so good fall warm colors. You can literally, when you have some really nice celosia popping off, it just looks like flames emerging. And then it'll give you a little textural balance, So you have got some of those with some mums, and you've got this fuzzy spike flower coming up, and it gives you a little bit of a textural, playfulness that you can use.
Cool. So celosia, write that one down.
Kids love them too because they're like really fun and soft and furry.
Yeah, and the brain one's super wild too.
Yeah.
It's kind of wavy. And
I don't think it's as showy.
No, it's not as showy, but it's still neat.
But it does provide some nice textural differences into your displays.
Absolutely. So next on our list, we had snapdragons. We use these in the spring, and again, we can use them in the fall, similarly to how we would use pansies. We're not going to talk a lot on snapdragons. You can get the snapdragons in all different colors, and they have good cold tolerances, and they just, I don't know, just a good annual, to add color to your flower pot. Nothing that's going to jump out and be super showy, but
yeah, the common theme with these annuals is that these are all annuals that can take the colder weather. So
yeah.
you're tearing out your petunias and your lantanas and your real hot weather loving stuff, and you're putting in things that almost do better with these cooler temps. And then if we get some freezes or some frosts, they can make it through.
Yeah. I will say, though, there's some pansies I think that people use in some fall displays, right? I know we sell some pansies this time of the year at the greenhouse, but I don't know that they're going to be as
petunias, you mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry, petunias. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of our plant dealers pushing different types of petunias,
like the black ones and those orange ones.
I haven't had the guts to try them yet.
Yeah,
because I just haven't tried it. I kind of want to see someone else try it and see if they pass or fail before I start using a bunch of those. But some more cold tolerant annuals. Marigolds is another one. I'm using a mix this year. I can't think of the name, but this mix has reds and oranges and yellows, and then yellows splashed with reds. So it's got all these different warm colors throughout the flowers. And this is one that I haven't used much in the cold weather, but I've got a lot of people that I trust that have said this stuff, they do really well in the cold. So
yeah,
I'm going to give them a try this year.
What's the real big marigold that I love? The African marigolds?
Yeah, the African ones. Like this year we use the big duck orange and the big duck yellow. I think we talked about those when we talked about our annuals we loved for the summer. So that's one that can carry over from the summer into the fall. And then a few that are a little bit lesser known, and you might not find them as readily, but you'll definitely find them, is wallflower, stock, and nemesia. And now these are three different things that kind of have a similar growth habit and a similar small flower and come in a lot of different colors. But I've used these a lot in spring, and I've noticed them a lot on fall availabilities too. So I feel like if they're going to be taking the March temperatures, then they're going to be fine in October as well. So a lot of the growers will grow these, push these to bloom right in time for September and October. So wallflower, stock, and nemesia, specifically the wallflower and the nemesia, they come in so many colors: bright yellows, muted yellows, bright pinks, blues, purples, oranges, more of a bronzy orange, more of a bright orange. You can get them, you can kind of find them in all the colors you might be looking for. So
yeah, and I personally have not used these, but I know that you use them frequently. You've started using them in recent years a lot more, and they always look fantastic. You've used them pretty much in the springtime. I don't know that I've seen you use them in the fall. Maybe you have.
No, I have some on order.
Okay.
I think I have some nemesia on order for the fall, but
and you mentioned that they are smaller flowered, and I would say that that's true, but what I've noticed about them is that small flower, there's lots of small flowers. So it gives this these small flowers are clustered together, so it gives a very bold appearance. It's not like a dainty plant by any means. It's definitely packed with color. So
they kind of do what a pansy does, and they come in that same kind of color palette. Some of these nemesias and these wallflowers, but instead of having a couple very large flowers, each plant has a bunch of smaller flowers. So they kind of, it's the same color palette, and it gives you that opportunity to bring something different into the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing we had kind of on an annual flower thing, and this is actually not considered an annual, but we're going to tell you to use it as an annual because planting it as a perennial is just, it's not a very wise thing to do because
it's irresponsible.
They're aggressive. Probably, I mean, I don't know that they're listed as invasive, but they have the invasive tendencies, and that would be English ivy. To use maybe say in a Porsche pot or something like that to give you that spilling over the edge kind of trailing vining type feel. You can get them in the greens and the variegated ones, but they kind of give that that spiller, if you will, look like in a pot. So
Yeah, I really like English ivy for that, especially the one with the white variegation, and kind of like what sweet potato vine does, but far less fast growing in the fall. So
yeah, you're not going to get a whole lot of growth on it. You're just going to kind of stick it in there, and it's going to do its thing and not really grow a lot. But definitely when you're done, they're cheap. So when you're done with it, just pitch it.
yeah.
Don't plant it.
Plant this in your landscape, it's going to take over. It's going to climb your big trees. It's going to, if you plant it near a natural area, it's going to move out into the natural area. So even if it's not on the invasive list, it should be.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you that.
Yeah, and as well as some other things.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the different. So annual flowers that that we would love to see you work into your fall flower displays, annual displays. And we're going to move on with another type of annual, but we're going to talk more about like some of the cooler weather crop type annuals that you could use in your fall flower displays. Or is that the right thing? Fall flower displays? Yeah, fall flower displays. Yeah. And that would be like kale. So I know I mentioned kale as a traditional thing. So this would be the less traditional type kale, but there's some ones we have written down: red boar and dinosaur kale, and these are going to give you kind of like a taller arching type effect, different types, different leaf color, different leaf textures.
Yeah, when you think of the kale and the cabbage, the typical ones, it literally looks like an opening up head of cabbage that you might buy from the store, and those are great. But if you're looking for something that's got a different type of footprint in your pot, something more sprawling, this dinosaur kale is just a really big, green, crinkly one. And then the red boar is a very similar look, but it's got a purple leaf.
Okay, yeah.
And both are completely edible, too. I mean, they're just cultivars of the kale you eat. But I really love these two kales specifically.
Yeah, so red boar and dinosaur kale. Some other things that we have written down for you to try would be beets. So bull's blood was one that you had mentioned, Tim. You want to talk about bull's blood beets?
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about the beets. I mean, I know what beets are, obviously, but I have no clue what bull's blood is.
Matt's passing beets to me. Matt hates beets.
Yep, I hate them.
And he's not going to apologize for it. He tries beets once a year just to make sure that his palate hasn't changed.
Just to remind myself how much I hate them.
Because I grow beets, and my wife and I love beets, and I always cook some and bring them in, and he's like, I'll try one just to make sure, and he's like, yep, I still don't like them.
Yeah.
And that's fine. He doesn't have to, but I started using these bull's bloods like 3 years ago. Do you remember? I mean, now I use them constantly. And these are ones that's super easy to start from seed, because beets are a really fast growing plant, so you could have started these from seed like back in early August, and you'd have them looking really good right now. But the bull's blood cultivar provides this really deep purple foliage, really delicate foliage that stands straight up, and you'll want to use a couple together.
Okay.
So if you're going to start your own seed, plant a few seeds together just to give you more mass, but when you're done, you can harvest the beets and eat them too. A lot of times when you've got them growing close together, the beet portion won't grow very large, so you can't always do that. But I really love beets this bull's blood as a great foliage complement to a fall planter.
Cool. Bull's blood beets, people. Try them out.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that we have on our crops list is Swiss chard, and this is going to be Swiss chard like you would grow and eat, but there's the different color stems of the Swiss chard that give you that. That's what kind of gives you the fall look. So the foliage is still going to be that kind of green, chunky, crinkly type foliage, but the
stick straight up.
But you can get the different colored stems like red stems, yellow stems,
orange,
pinks, all of those. So Swiss chard's another good one to work in for the stem color, as well as just the overall texture of the leaf is pretty cool too.
Yeah, and even the veins as you get up into the leaf tend to stay that color too.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you can buy them. You can buy like all yellow, or you could buy a mix that has all the colors, like in a flat or in a pot. So You can do a lot of different colors
Okay.
with the Swiss chard.
Yeah.
So Bright Lights Mix, I think, is what it's called.
Perfect.
What they often sell.
I love that you know all of these little mixed names because I don't.
Yeah. Well,
I know you look at the availabilities a lot for the annuals and stuff.
Yeah, I do I do most of the annual ordering for us, so I'm looking through these lists a lot.
Yeah. So next up on our list of crops that you could use is ornamental peppers. And
it wasn't a real popular one for our work unit this year. I think you're the only person that sent me a request list that had any ornamental peppers.
I love ornamental peppers.
Absolutely.
I mean, so they're these little chili pepper looking things. They are edible. Most of them are very hot. But you can get them in all different colors. You can get them in reds, orange, yellow, dark purples that almost look black. You can get one plant that's got 3 different colors, like a pot with 3 different colors in it. And you can get them in different shapes. You can get longer ones, short ones, round ones.
Yep.
And I mean, it's just...
And some of them have like dark foliage.
Yeah,
There's a one with like the black foliage with the little black round peppers.
And it gets purple flowers on it.
Yeah.
A light purple flower.
You can do a lot with these. And at the end of the day, they're just peppers. They're all completely edible, but they're not... They're bred for these colors, and they're bred for the peppers standing straight up so you can see them. So while edible, they don't always taste great. They don't always have a lot of flavor, but I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Ornamental peppers. So those are kind of the lists. That's like a short list of some different crops that we could use in our fall flower displays. So moving on from some of the different annuals and crops, now we're really thinking outside of the box with some of the stuff that we're going to talk about next. And we're going to start off with perennials. Now, this is something that Tim and I have both kind of shifted to over the years because, I mean, I'll admit it, there was a time when I was just the traditional, I'm just going to stick mum's kale, cabbage, some pansies in there and call it a day, purple fountain grass, whatever. There's my fall display. But you can create some really cool stuff just by switching some of those things out with some different perennials. And we're going to run through this list. It's a pretty robust list of stuff here, so we're going to run through it relatively quick, but we want to hit on all of these different things. So make sure to take notes on this, mental notes or notes on a piece of paper, or, fast forward back to this part and re-listen. So
perennials are fun to use in planters because you really starting to mix it up. You can really get creative. And what's great is the sustainability of it. So your planters are finished and you're done, and you can take those perennials and put them in the ground, right?
Yeah.
You can put these into your garden and they'll come back year to year. Or if you don't have space for them, you can pot them up and gift them to a friend. So perennials really can add something unique. And you can't, it's harder to use perennials in the summertime, because these are going to be here from like May all the way through the middle of September, late
like
September. Now. And it's hard to find a perennial that's just going to kind of shine for that length of time. They exist, but it's much easier to get these into your late season planters, because you go to the garden center and you just say, wow, look at what's blooming right now, or what's about to bloom. Maybe it's got tight flower buds, or maybe it's got a fun foliage color or a nice texture. So I really I think if you're starting to use a bunch of perennials, you're really up in your game as far as late season containers go.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I try to use as many perennials as I can because I love the idea of using them in my pot and then pulling them out of the pot when I'm done and putting them in the ground. And, you get that 2-for-1 type thing. But yeah, so... starting off the list is asters. So there's a lot of different asters. They come in all of the, the purples, the blues, the whites.
And pink.
The pinks. So like our native asters work fantastic for fall displays. So definitely check out the asters.
And the way they sell those, the way they grow them and prune them and then have them in sellable form, they have a very similar shape as the mums.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're getting something that's very mum-like, but it's native. It's much better. It's much better for pollinators, and it's going to provide you with the cool colors that a mum's not going to be able to give you. The purples and the true purples. They sell purple mums, but I never really see purple in them. I more see like a fuchsia or like a real bright pink.
Yeah, these are true purple in the asters
and
the
almost
blues.
blue. Yeah.
Yeah, aster. I mean, I love asters just to begin with. So the fact that you could use an aster in a fall display, pull it out, and then stick it in the ground is great.
Yeah, and just because it's cool colors doesn't mean it can't go in a fall display. First of all, there's no rules on what colors are appropriate for fall. And second of all, if you look around right now and you look at natural areas, what's blooming right now? Asters, the ironweed just went out with goldenrod. It's like you're seeing a lot of yellows and purples.
And they play well off of each other,
So
those
well.
contrasting colors.
Yeah.
So moving on from asters, we have Rudbeckia on here. And Rudbeckia, Black-Eyed Susan, is just as you would think it is. Just finding maybe the garden center is going to have some late season Black-Eyed Susan that's just coming into bloom right now. So like the American Gold Rush is one that I really like. There's Goldstr. I mean, there's a lot of different ones, but
and it blooms for a long time.
Yeah,
and
that's
so especially if you see flower buds, you know you're going to get a long life out of the blooms there.
Yeah, and that's going to give you a lot of that. That's going to give you that nice yellow, and it's also going to give you some height in the container. So next on the list, we have Echinacea, which is I'll let you explain this, Tim.
It's an intergeneric hybrid. So it's a hybrid, but you're hybridizing a Rudbeckia and an Echinacea.
Yep.
A coneflower and a Black-Eyed Susan. And you kind of get some of the better disease resistance of the Echinacea, and then some of the color tones and later season blooming of the Rudbeckia. And these flowers are just gigantic.
Big, colorful, chunky.
Yeah.
I
4
mean,
or
just
5
chunky
inches
plants.
across, hot colors in the flowers, so like all yellow or yellow with an orange center, or all bronze. I think these are some of the most underrated flowers you can use in your annual pots. I mean, they really brighten things up.
Yeah, you talked me into some this year because I was looking for a straight Rudbeckia, and at the nursery, they looked good at the nursery, but they weren't what I was looking for. And you turned me on to the Echinaceias. I think I had used them in the past, and when I had used them in the past, they were just kind of short from the grower, and I just kind of had that, like, from the get-go, that negative mindset, like, I tried it once and it didn't work because they were just too short, so I'm not going to try it again. But, the ones that we found look fantastic, so I'm anxious to get those put in.
Yeah, you'll find them at the garden center, 18, 24 inches, and they'll have these giant flowers. And even though they're marketed as annuals, they're perennials. They're zone 6 through 10. So for us here in Central Ohio, they're perennials. I've left some in the ground before, and they come back so much more reliably than like something like a mum.
Yeah.
And they bloom early, get some mildew, cut them back, and then they bloom again.
Perfect.
So, really like them.
Perfect. And so we mentioned Rudbeckia, and then the Echinacea, the hybrid between Echinacea and Rudbeckia. So now we're just going to talk about Echinacea, or the coneflower, and we're going to talk about one cultivar specifically, in that Cheyenne Spirits. The Cheyenne Spirits cultivar is going to give you, typically you're going to get different colors in the same pot: oranges, reds, yellows. Even the more traditional kind of purple from the purple coneflower in there, and just together they create a beautiful fall color palette. So
they do, and what's kind of neat about Echinacea is just the longevity of the blooms. So I started using these last year in the pots at Riverside Crossing, and I just love what they did. The flowers shot up way above my foliage plants, and they just bloomed for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I just went to one of our wholesale plant dealers and said, like, show me some Echinacea that's just coming into itself right now, and it just looked gorgeous. I was like, how can I not leave here without buying these?
Yeah, I saw some at the nursery the other day, and I was like, that would look good in there, but I refrained from purchasing it.
Yeah, and you don't have to go with Cheyenne Spirit either. You know, if you're just like, well, I just want some pink ones or some white ones, then go ahead and buy something like a Powwow White or something like that that gives you the color you want. But just a fantastic perennial to use in your planters. I can't say enough about that.
Yeah. So we're talking flowers. I know on our perennial list here we've got some grasses, but I want to come back to the grasses, and I wanted to stay on this kind of this little flower kick we're talking about right now and jump down here to some of the short goldenrods. So one that comes to my mind is Little Lemon, and this is just a short little thing that gets maybe like 15 to 18 inches tall.
I think that's right where you're at, 15 to 18.
Yeah, and it just gets this nice goldenrod flower on the top, this thick kind of panicle-shaped flower on top of it, and it's just great. It's not like the goldenrods you're used to seeing in the prairie that's going to be this big leggy thing that you need to worry about cutting back or anything. It just kind of really tucks itself in nice and creates a nice little plant.
It looks just like a goldenrod you see in the prairie, but it's 15 to 18 inches, so it works really nice in a fall display.
Yeah. We have sedum on here, and so with sedum, you're going to get a mix of flower color, foliage color. You're going to get upright. You're going to get mounding. You can even find some of the ones that would trail over the side of a pot if you put it in a pot, kind of give you that spiller effect. So yeah, sedums we think are a great one for a lot of different reasons.
It's also, sedums, interestingly enough, are a magician's favorite flower.
Oh yeah? Please do share.
Now you see them, now you don't.
Oh, hold on.
You gotta get those buttons memorized. We need to label those.
Yeah, so that's my wife's favorite joke, too, with the sedums.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. Taylor says that joke all the time.
She's such a smart ass.
Yeah, she really is.
Just be careful when you're buying the sedums, though. Make sure, especially if you're going for putting them in pots that, you might get a frost, you got to be looking for the perennial sedums, because some of those annual sedums will just melt. They'll just completely explode with a frost. So make sure they're the perennial sedums.
Yeah, perennial sedum. So, I mean, your autumn joys and things like that, just go to the garden center and ask for perennial sedum and take your pick. They're all, you can, like we were just saying, you can get big chunky leaf or foliage, smaller foliage, different colored flowers, yellows, pinks, whites. You can get different colored foliage. It's crazy what you can do with the sedum.
And things like this, these perennials might be a little more expensive than the annuals, or they could be on sale, but just think about, you're putting them back into your garden. So you're getting a long life out of these plants.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe a little bit more expensive, but not crazy.
That's true.
Crazy expensive.
That's true.
So, okay, so that kind of wraps up the perennial flowers. Now I want to hit on some of the perennial grasses. So these would be things that you could use in lieu of the purple fountain grass. Grasses are some of our favorite plants to use in the landscape for a lot of different reasons, and we enjoy using these perennial grasses in our fall displays because, like you just talked about, we can use them in our fall displays, get an awesome look, when you're talking textures, colors, and also height in like a container, say. But yeah, I'm going to start this off with panicum. It's one that I love to use. So like our native switchgrass. There's a lot of different cultivars. There's totem pole panicum, which is a tighter, more straight upright panicum that's going to give you that blue foliage. You can get like what's the one that I just bought? Shenandoah, that's got the blue foliage with it's starting to get that purpley reddish fall color. There's a lot of different ones. North Winds is another one. So heavy metal is kind of the traditional panicum, I think, that you would find at the garden center. And
some of them this time of year are trending towards the burgundies and reds in their fall color, but then some get that straw color, fall color. Yep. And you can't go wrong with either of those. And then those really delicate flower heads when the light's just catching it just right with your fall inspired flowers. I mean, it's just like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, the texture of them is fantastic, and the way they act when the breeze hits them too. It doesn't take much, and the way they just kind of they just dance in the breeze. I love. So moving on with the grasses here, little blue stem.
Great, it's so colorful.
Yeah,
so colorful, especially this time of year.
There's a lot of different little blue stems out there, that's going to give you different heights and colors, and the textures are pretty much going to be the same. There's a new one out called Haha Tonka that's going to give you more of this like pubescent type foliage, these little white hairs that kind of run up the stem, but you're still going to get that underneath that. You're going to get the pretty blues and purples and reds that the little blue stem offers. So little blue stem would be another good one. Tim, these next two grasses, I know that you just recently purchased some to use in some big pots. Do you want to talk about them?
Yeah, I've got some giant bowls down in a Riverside Crossing, and I bought some Blackhawks big blue stem for those. Another cultivar of big blue stem that would work would be like Red October, but the color is just this. I mean, it's almost black with the Blackhawks.
Yeah, and that's Hawks with an H.
Oh, what am I saying?
No, you're saying that. I just want the listeners to know.
Oh yeah, Blackhawks.
Hawks.
Blackhawks.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah, stop it, you listeners. Really, I'm putting like 3 of them together. I'm smashing them right in the center, and they're just going to provide a really nice contrast to all the reds and yellows and oranges I'm going to use down below. And then the Indian grass. I'm not using Indian grass, but like I almost did.
I thought you had gotten some.
No, those are panicums, but I almost did.
Okay.
Because they have such a fun seed head for the fall. Mm-hmm. Really big and coarse and like
kind of a
tan,
a golden tan color. Yeah, it's similar to like what the Calamagrostis or like Carl Forrester's feathery grass would be. Something
but
similar
on
to
steroids.
That. Yeah. So Indian grass and big blue stem, 2 fantastic ones. Those are going to give more height though. These aren't going to be the like shorter grasses. They're going to be something taller you would find. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about for grass like foliage is stuff that we love to use and I've been using it in my flower pots. I know in fall displays, I know you use it in fall displays, and there's a lot of different routes you can go with this, but that's going to be the carex or the sedges. And we're going to rattle off the names of some here that we've used and that we love. So blue zinger being one, it's going to be a real fine grass like foliage that's got this real nice kind of iridescent blue color to it. Works great on the edge of the pot. It just it's very flowy. It's very soft. It just kind of falls over the edge and kind of intermingles with anything that's around it. Everillo is going to be a very similar grass. Rather than the blue foliage, you're going to get more of that yellowy chartreuse kind of foliage. And it's a beautiful one. It really lightens up an area. If you use it in the shade, like it just will light up a shaded area.
Do this one next.
Yeah, I'm going to do that one next because we're going to group some of those other ones together. And then there's one called Feather Falls, which is a newer one to the market for the Carexes. And it's going to be, again, similar foliage, probably a little bit larger plant than the Everillo or the Blue Zinger is. But rather than like a yellow foliage or a blue foliage, you're going to get this super variegated white and green foliage, and Feather Falls is beautiful. I know we saw it a lot down earlier this year in Asheville at the PPA thing, people using it in the landscape. I know Megan fell in love with it. I think you guys ended up with some to bring home, but
it the way it just kind of grows up, then cascades down and then curls around. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
The texture of it is gorgeous.
Oh yeah. Feather Falls. Any of the Carexes are one of my favorites. So
and those 3 that you mentioned, Blue Zinger, Everillo, and Feather Falls, with those, it's all about the form where they kind of cascade down. So you don't have to use that on the edge of the pot. While you can also kind of pop it around in your containers. And the way that grass just kind of flows around through things, really like that look.
Yeah, so I like using it personally on the edge because I like it to soften the edge of the pot as it kind of flows over the edge. It also works great in the edge of the perennial border, or if you were doing a fall display like along a sidewalk or something, allowing that foliage to kind of cascade out onto the sidewalk, and it just kind of softens those hard edges,
or like a shady matrix even.
Yeah, or a shady matrix, but it allowing it to just kind of fall over a sidewalk and tickle your ankles as you walk by is pretty fun. And then last but not least on the Carex list, we've got 3 here that are very similar. I know you've used them, Tim. I personally haven't, though I do love them. You want to rattle those ones off for the listeners?
Yeah, so Red Rooster, Prairie Fire, and Toffee Twist. They're kind of all in the same vein. They have, especially, which I think it's Toffee Twist and Red Rooster specifically. Some people are like, oh, it looks dead. Well, it's not dead. It has like a bronzy, very fall look to it.
Yep.
And that's the point.
It's not green. It's not the blue. It's not the yellow. Like you said, it does have a very bronzy look to it. And Yeah, people do think that it's dead, but I don't know.
Yeah, so
I
maybe
think
that's
it's
not the
pretty.
best plug for it, but I think it's fantastic.
I think, yeah,
it's
Google
got
it.
it's got a very rustic color, so you've got it coming up through your maroon and your orange and your yellow, fall planting. It just really helps set things off, and it gives some layer of architecture because these stand straight up compared to the calyxes we just mentioned.
Yeah, and when we're talking calyxes and grasses and stuff, we're not talking about though the color does play into it. For us personally, it's more about the architecture and the texture of the plant. Just that fine kind of flowy texture that the calyx and the grasses provide. So,
For sure.
Yeah, definitely give calyx a look and a try if you haven't. So,
and don't limit yourselves to the 5 or 6 we just mentioned. There's so many different
just do a
calyxes.
search on
Just look around. What's your garden center got?
Yep, absolutely. And then last but not least on the perennial list, we're going to touch on just kind of another foliage plant that comes in an array of different colors, and that would be your heucheras or coral bells. Everyone knows what they are. You can get them in purples. You can get them in the oranges and the copper
Reds
colors,
and chartreuse
the reds,
and
all
silver.
of the yellows, all of the different colors. So definitely check out heuchera. There again, another hardy, tough perennial that you can use in your pot.
Yeah, it's a semi-evergreen perennial. So these early frosts and freezes aren't going to hurt it.
No, heavens no. I mean,
Heavens
no.
Are you my grandmother?
Yes, I am. Hello, Timothy.
Heavens no. Yeah, so get some heuchera in there just for some foliage color.
Yeah,
for sure.
Heuchera. So
Coral bells.
I hope that something that we just talked about in the perennial list sticks with some of you, because I would love to see more perennials get used in some of these plant combinations from people, moving forward for fall displays.
Yeah, when I'm walking around places where there's a lot of containers, when I see perennials in planters, I'm like, that person's creative.
Yeah.
That person knows what's up.
They're thinking outside the box.
Exactly.
Bob. Thinking outside the box. So, okay, moving on from perennials, we're going to touch on shrubs real quick. Handful of shrubs here that we have listed. First on the shrub lists, we're talking hydrangeas, more specifically panicle hydrangeas. So, Bobo, we just had a hydrangea episode, so I don't need to spend a ton of time talking about hydrangeas.
I'm using Quickfire Fab.
Yeah, so the Quickfire
for my fall displays.
Strawberry Sundae, just something that's going to give you. So you're not going to have the white flower, but it's going to be in those kind of muted pinks and reds, and almost some of them may even be already moving on to the dead kind of like
they're senescing.
Look.
It's got that fall look to it, right? That's what's happening in fall now. Things are starting to turn colors, and it's no different with the hydrangeas. And they make really nice centerpieces. Yeah, having that nice shrub in the center with those flowers, is definitely a nice touch. For sure.
Yeah. What do we have next on the shrubs? So, ninebark, Physocarpus.
It's a great native.
There again, native shrub you can use in a display. When you're done, put it in your landscape. So with the ninebarks, there again, you're going to get it's a foliage color thing, and it does have attractive bark too, kind of a
exfoliating,
kind of cinnamon colored bark. But with this, it's more about the foliage. You can get the traditional ninebark is going to be kind of that dark burgundy type foliage, almost purpley black kind of foliage, but you can get like some that's going to be more red. You can get some that's got the like chartreusey yellow colors, orange colors. So there again, ninebark's going to give you a lot of different, similar to how heuchera is with its foliage colors. Ninebark's going to offer a lot of those same colors, just a much larger plant. So yeah,
and then the last kind of foliagey shrub would be just something evergreen. What's nice about using an evergreen in your fall displays is that you can just leave it put for your winter displays to provide that, green holiday season type situation. But We identified like arborvitaes or junipers or false cypress as like small specialty conifers you could find, maybe something with a white or yellow variegation. But you just send out these nice sprays just to provide some like real color centric anchor in your pots.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
you can use evergreens, you can use them. Just because it's fall doesn't mean you can't use them.
Dude, I love evergreens.
And then they're going into your landscape.
Yeah. I have, like right now, my gray owl junipers look fantastic.
Absolutely.
And I'm just like, and those things will look great all through the fall and into winter. So, and then, so that, arborvitaes, junipers, and the false cypresses for evergreens. But then something else to think about is like we have a couple of shrubs listed here that are going to be more about would be more for the berry.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty berry being one, so Calicarpa. And what's nice about the beauty berry is it doesn't do a whole lot through the summer. It's just kind of there. It just kind of exists as a green shrub. It gets a little white flower on it earlier on in the summer that's going to be a really small kind of inconspicuous type flower, but
pinkish white. You have to really look hard to find it.
But what it does provide for us come this time of the year are these clusters of purple or white, like you had mentioned, or white. Traditionally speaking, though, purple berries.
Yeah, they're like iridescent, metallic looking.
Yeah.
And they're just the stems are covered in them.
Yeah, when I say clusters, I'm talking like these clusters that cover the entire stem. It's like 1,000 of them on a stem. But the purple is pretty awesome.
And I've seen those berries persist on the stems in a mild winter here in central Ohio all the way to like mid-December. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be there. And what's nice about them is they also have a nice fall color. I can't speak for all the cultivars and species, but I know some of the ones that I've recently used move into a nice orange fall color, which looks so good with that purple. Yeah. So good with that purple berry.
Yeah, and then there's one, I don't know that the fall color on it's great, but that purple glam, which is a burgundy foliage with the purple berry, is a really nice, beauty berry shrub.
Absolutely.
So, and then the last one that we're going to talk about as far as shrubs go with berries would be just winterberry holly. So you're going to find that, as it loses its foliage for the year, it's going to be left with these clusters of berries that run down the stem. You can get reds, oranges, yellows, like all of the golds, all of the different fall colors. And when we say holly, a lot of times people think like Christmas, and we're not talking about like an evergreen type holly that would scream Christmas. We're talking winterberry holly. So
get these in your pots, and if they have leaves on them, strip the leaves off.
Yeah, so they will lose their leaves. They are deciduous, but so winterberry holly for sure.
Yeah, if they're taking a while to lose their leaves in your displays, strip them off.
Yeah,
because you just want to see those berries.
Absolutely. So cool. And then so that kind of wraps up the list of some different plants that you could use to step away from or think outside of the box from just your mums, kale, cabbage, pansies, and purple fountain grass. I hope that something in this list of stuff sticks for y'all. I know it's stuff that we use. We wouldn't mention this stuff if we hadn't tried it or hadn't seen it used. So it's all things that will work for you. So hopefully you can figure something out, even if it's just one of these little things that you can switch out and then maybe build on it from year to year. That would be great. And then I'm not going to spend any time on this, but pumpkins and gourds, if you're going to use them, fantastic. There's a million different types of pumpkins and gourds out there now, different colors, shapes, textures, yada, yada. But don't just put like one small gourd on your porch. Like if you're going to do it, like spend some money and go all out and get a pile of them and really make a statement with them. Same with the pumpkins. Carve your pumpkin with your kids. That's always fun. I still enjoy doing it, but also if you're able to do it and you really want to create like a fall display that wows, like pack the pumpkins in there, stack these things on top of each other, get all different colors and different sizes and just really make a statement with them. I have a friend that does it. He goes all out on the fall displays. We'll try and get that picture thrown up on Instagram this week if I can remember to do it. And you'll just kind of see like how it really wows having,
They are expensive, and short of growing your own, Matt, can you think of any like ways you could order these or find them on the cheap or on the cheaper, or is it just difficult?
It is what it is. Yeah, it's just difficult. I mean, yeah, I don't know. You just look for deals at garden centers, I suppose. Or
yeah,
I don't
the
know
later in the season it gets, I think the cheaper they get when they're trying to get their.
I don't know if it's any cheaper to go to an actual pumpkin patch to purchase them. I suppose maybe it is, because you're cutting out the
middleman.
The middleman, I suppose, in the process. But, it's not easy for everyone to get out and go to a pumpkin patch. So, yeah, you're just kind of stuck with what you've got at the garden center. But
we'll make sure we post a few posts this week about fall planters, but we'll make sure you get some of those pictures of the gourd displays.
Yeah, absolutely. House. Yeah, I'll get those out there for sure. And Donald, if you're listening, I'm going to be sharing your pumpkin and gourd displays. So sorry, not sorry, but cool. Tim, I think that kind of wraps it up for thinking outside the box on fall flower displays. And you got anything you want to add to it?
No, I mean, we scratched the surface. There's more out there.
100%. But we've only got so much time in a podcast.
Right. And I just want people to know that we gave you a lot of good information, but go out there, go into your garden centers and find what tickles your fancy.
Yeah. I like that. I love it when you say tickles.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That was all I had.
Sometimes I like to tickle your junkus. Matt planted a great display of junkus.
Mm-hmm.
In this little rain garden, and I love going over
Blue Arrows junkus
to tickle that junkus.
I was kind of sad that that Megan never responded to me when I asked her if she tickled my junkus when she brought her workers on the tour. She's all business.
All business. Megan's all business.
Megan is all business. Yeah, so
don't worry about her. I'll tickle your junkus.
Thank you.
Yep,
I appreciate it. Yep. So cool, peeps. That's it for us this week. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, until next time, I'm Matt.
And I'm Tim.
And we love you all harder +2.
Rock on.
Peace out.
Bye.